Hello, you wonderful Life Path 2 person. Welcome to your 2023 Life Path reading with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. I just want to say a massive heartfelt thank you so much to all of you who supported my work throughout 2022. All of you that came back over and over, month by month, every 3 months, every 6 months, however it is that you did it, and commented on the Life Path Year Ahead videos. I love that you share how these are helping you, how it's showing up in your life. It really does mean the absolute world to me that you do that. So thank you so much, and I look forward to being of service for another year and seeing how this one plays out for all of you. With that said, I would like to bless my cards and this session with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you all on your path to your highest vibrational good. So before we get into your cards, I have my trusty notes. If you've been with me long enough, you know, for the bigger, longer form stuff, I always have notes. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't, but for the most part, there will always be something written or scribbled down, and this year is no different. All right, so what are the things that you need to know about how this year's energy, 2023, is a 7-year, right? How is this energy going to interact with your own, and how is it likely to manifest and show up for you on that day-to-day level? There is a number here, by the way. You just probably can't see it because it's so bright today, which is awesome. All right, so this year, don't be afraid to let things go, whether this is people, places, or things. All right, this is a consideration for you that is going to be a theme throughout this year. So it's one that you really do need to pay attention to. Whatever, you know, they say like that saying, when someone, whatever leaves your life, let it go. This is like, let it go, let it go. Like, this is the year to really practice doing that. And it's hard for a Life Path 2 because you're naturally built to connect or to collaborate or to work with others. This year, however, you probably be letting or releasing quite a few things. So this is a year for you to really think about taking stock of where you've been, what you've been up to, who you've been mixing and mingling with up until this point, and how it has served you. This also is a year that carries somewhat of a, it's going to be somewhat of a challenging energy because it's going to make, you're naturally very sensitive anyway. This year has the potential to really heighten that sensitivity for you. It might also this year as well, be careful because you might have to stave off the melancholy. Now, if you're an artist or a creative of any kind, you know that a little bit of that melancholia really is actually very good for you, right? And I say this to myself as well. Sometimes, you know, like when you hear a certain song and it brings the teardrop to your eye, or you watch a certain film and it's like something happens and you're like, oh, I really felt that in the heart chakra. Those things this year have the potential to really bring you some amazing and profound insights and lessons, providing you allow it to be that and you keep the melancholy in check, right? It's like a little dose of it is really good for the things that you want to create. Too much of it and it's like, oh, I can't get out of bed. All right, so you got to be on top of that this year. Use your deeper emotional state and awareness to allow your creativity to shine this year. If you are a Life Path 2, you already have a naturally very deep disposition when it comes to feelings. This year, you've got to channel those. You have to put them to use to work for you. More sensible, and like, you know, if you're more sensitive than usual, you might as well get something out of it, right? This also might be a time where a challenging time of where it comes to clarity. And it might be as well that your intuitive powers are really heightened this year, especially because the year itself is a 7-year. So trust those, tap into them. Give yourself to others that you like, especially for those of you like, what I mean by give yourself to others, people in your life that you know actually deserve your time, whether you have or haven't shown up for them previously. Be honest with yourself. Have I given this person, this connection, this thing as much as it's given me? Have I been honest enough with whatever or whoever? Have I shown up enough for whoever or whatever? This year, be really honest about that stuff. And so that way, when you give, it comes from a place of truly saying, you know what, there is, and because this is part of your life path energy, right, is that you're always seeking to balance out the equation. Are there things that are out of balance this year? And if there are people that deserve more of your time, your effort and your energy, give it to them this year. You will get just as much out of it as they will, trust me. Also, when it comes to effort and input, but obviously you got to be discerning. Don't just give everything away to everybody. Wrap up the loose ends in your life, whether this is old debts, whether it's scores to settle, whether it's conversations that need to be had, whether it's stuff that you've accumulated that you're kind of like, you know what, I need to get rid of this heap of junk. Right, whatever it might be, utilize that this year. What I've also put here as well is where debts are owed or due, collect or pay them off, right? Whichever it might be, just get it done this year. And then finally, I've put here, journal your butt off, right? Put pen to paper and really figure out where you are actually in your life. What do you feel about who, about what, about where you are, all of that stuff, right? Dig into it and don't be afraid to look into it, and, you know, be really honest with yourself when you do. That way, whatever you're feeling at that deeper level, it's like when you're writing something or you're journaling, it's about, you know, a place or a person or whatever. When you're feeling things at such a deep level, you will know what's either resonating with you or not, or what is, you know, maybe it's time. When it comes to money, it's likely that you will have more financial responsibilities this year and potentially for or over others. So maybe this year you're called in to manage somebody else's money. Maybe you are put in charge of somebody else's money. It might be as well that you are assuming financial responsibility for somebody else. It's possible. When it comes to your own money, don't be wasteful. Save, recycle, donate rather than throw away. And this year you'll probably like sail through unscathed. Love and relationships. So love will require you to be there a bit more for a partner maybe than usual. It might also be that you start to understand how you're identifying or showing up in your own life through the guise of your partner. And you can, you know, either rectify that or say, actually, no, it's fine and I really like it. There's like something about this year where you're going to really be kind of figuring this stuff out for yourself. Honesty is definitely valued. Spending time alone or working on a collaborative project with your significant other could absolutely be amazing. So when I say spending time alone, I mean spending time alone together with your significant other, where you kind of not put them on a pedestal, but where you kind of say to them, okay, baby, what is it that you need? What do you want right now? Okay, like find a way to be that kind of giving of yourself, which comes naturally. You're a life path too. If you are single, this is not the year for new love, okay? If your stars, your astrology, you know, tells you something different or somebody manages to show up, then go for it, right? Get in there and make it happen. In terms of the way that the numbers are playing out for you, play the field, all right? Unless you're in a personal year number 2 or a personal year number 6, keep it loose, keep it casual. I'm not saying be promiscuous or whatever somebody else might take that as. What I'm saying is, don't bank on something being long term, so that if it does come to an end, you're not disappointed, right? You're just working with the energy that is available to you at any given moment. When it comes to your warnings, learning when to say no. I've given enough. I have, I've put my stuff off for too long. It might also be a moment where you consider what you want in relation to what you have. So this could be a time where you really are taking stock and saying, okay, well, this is where I'm at right now, but that's actually where I want to be. And it's like you're spotting the gap, whether it's like minuscule or like an entire gulf. You're just being really honest with yourself. Don't be wasteful. Don't be wasteful this year. Really don't. It won't serve you, right? Whether it's money that you're wasting, whether it is items, time, the one commodity that it doesn't matter how wealthy you are in the world. Time is the one most precious resource that we are not getting any more of and that we are not making any more of. When it comes to work, be okay with letting others take the lead or take the reins this year. All right, like this is a year for you to kind of sit back and say, actually, you know what, I think everybody else has got it. Well, I'm good with that. Also, when it comes to work, be a team player as much as you can, but let others lead, like let others do the shining. And then finally, it sounds really cheesy and really cliche, but like the more this year you think to yourself, we really are in it together, the better this year will be for you. All right, so let's have a look at your cards for the year ahead. So you're going to get one destiny card, one direction card for each month. And then we're going to get straight into it. All right, so I like to shuffle my cards on camera so that you can see that the deck is not stacked. Oh, and the first card out kind of typifies the year ahead, right? But before we get into that, I'm going to hold it here because it's a really good one. And everyone will be like, what is that? You will find out. Patience, young Padawan. All right, so Mars, as we start 2023, Mars will be in retrograde. Mars will have been retrograde in the sign of Gemini for some time at this point, and it will have been in the sign of Gemini for quite a while. On the 12th of January, Mars will go direct, so you will feel that shift and it will be definitely welcome. On top of that, you've got the, come on brain, the Mercury retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. So as we start the year, it is a somewhat slower start to the year. If you saw the year ahead video that I did for 2023 being a numerological universal year 7, check that out. If you haven't seen it, I'll make sure there's a link in the description for it. You really need to see that. Slow and steady is going to win the race of 2023. If you try to rush it, you're going to force it, you're going to break it. Now, that being said, we start the year with a lot of backward energy, which means there's already a slower start to the year. And in some way, shape or form, that's going to permeate the whole year. Now, your first card out kind of typifies the year that you're going to have. And for you, you have the Sun card, right? So look at that. You're starting the year very strong. This is going to be a year of blessings, absolutely. It's also likely to be a year of energy and passion. And the other thing with the Sun card, remember, this enhances all of the blessings that are showing up for you this year, and it diminishes your challenges. So in terms of January, this is actually really great because it means that you're starting the year very strong. When I say starting the year strong, this isn't that you're coming in all guns blazing, right? The Sun card, yes, it's a great card, but it's not like forceful or in your face. It's not the Magician. It's not the Chariot. It is the Sun, right? And the Sun card takes its time to give everything, to do everything. Why? Because it understands that there is time to do everything, which is interesting with the message that I mentioned earlier, right? About time being the one thing we're not getting any more of or making any more of, which is very, very true. Now, on top of that, you've got the Page of Pentacles. If you have a new baby, if you have a new business, if you have something that you are trying to start or to get off the ground, January is a really good time for you. Why do I say that? Yes, there is all this retrograde energy. You know, no matter what your stars are, no matter what your numerology is, no matter what your tower is, there is never, like, even the best charts that you see astrologically will have something in it that needs to be mitigated, all right? These cards basically say January is a beautiful month for you for starting a new business, for starting something new. That doesn't mean that you rush out and it all has to be done on that day. Maybe you wait until the retrogrades are finished. Maybe you spend this month cultivating that new business, the connections that you're going to need. It looks like you probably will. The other thing with that Page of Pentacles, this is for a lot of you, you're bringing something that you have been learning, something that you have been studying, something that you have been really delving into, you're now sharing with the world. It's like you're saying, yes, this is what I've been up to, this is what I've been learning, this is what I've been doing, and this is how it shows up. I really love January. I mean, what an amazing start to the year for you. As we come into February, you've got the Magician card. Right? So this could be a really great time for you. I will say, remember with the Magician card, it can be trickster energy. So I just want you to be really aware in February of where it is that you're maybe being too optimistic with something or telling yourself, there are no problems here. All right. It's not to say that there are. I'm just saying this is a time where you really want to keep your feet on the ground. For this, you have the High Priestess. So for those of you that are so inclined, whatever it is that you are learning or choosing to take on board, it looks like it has something to do with what I affectionately call the spiritual sciences. So this could be astrology, it could be numerology, it could be tarot. There's something that you're choosing to learn this year that has a very, excuse me. There's something that you're choosing to learn this year that has a very spiritual energy or element to it. And it's going to be really powerful, as will you. I mean, you start the year really, really strong. The High Priestess is, I mean, it was coupled with the Magician. That is where you go into some sort of genuine study around magic, manifest it. I'm not talking about one of these like, fluff things. This is where you get serious about studying something that has the potential to change your life. On another front, this could also be, if you are meeting or connecting with like powerful people, just make sure that they're not promising the earth and delivering a rock. Okay, it looks fine, but just want, as I've said many a time, right? I love the woo-woo. I'm all about the woo-woo, but we keep our feet on the ground as well. For March, you have the Emperor. Now, March is a packed month, right? We've got Pluto moving out of the sign of Capricorn into Aquarius. It's just dipping its toes, right? It's going to dip its toes and, how does this feel? And then it will come back in until like 2024. Mars will be coming out of the sign of Gemini and into the sign of Cancer. Mars doesn't do well in Gemini. It's gone retrograde, which it hates to do. On top of that, it's in a sign that doesn't give it one clear focus. Now, even though Mars is technically in its fall in the sign of Cancer, I think this is going to be a welcome change, not only for all of us, but actually for Mars. I think that's going to make us all really kind of like, no, you know what? I know what I'm ready to dedicate to, and I know what I'm actually ready to defend. All right. So this could actually be a very good thing. I personally feel like it will be. On top of that, Saturn will be moving out of the sign of Aquarius and into the sign of Pisces. And that's it. Once he goes into Pisces, Saturn will not be coming back into Aquarius, right? There's not going to be any of this cross-border stuff. So it's really interesting, like March is a packed month. If you want to find out how all of these astrological energies are going to speak specifically to your sun or your ascendant, if you haven't got yours yet, my year ahead for the sign videos are out there for your purchasing pleasure. You can get those on the link in the description box below, or one of those little floaty things above my head. And you can buy them separately, or you can buy the bundle for $24.99. They're like $4.99 a piece. You've got the video, which is like 90 minutes long. On top of that, you've got extra content that I will not be putting out on any of my other platforms. So you can check that out as well. You're getting your lunations, you're getting the numerology. Trust me, it's packed. And on top of that, you're getting a printable PDF of the big transits and how they're going to talk to your sign. So if you want to get those, you know where to do it. All right. So for this, you have for March, you have the Emperor. Isn't that interesting, right? In the month where, certainly towards the end of the month anyway, the month where Aries season kicks in, you have the Emperor, which is literally ruled by Aries. The fact that you have this means you are like, this is you establishing something. For a lot of you, I feel like whatever you're cooking up in January and February, March will be where you really start to move on it, where it really starts to happen. That's going to be a theme for all of us, just because there's such a big dynamic energy pushing forward in March. Now, for you personally, this might take a legal slant. This could be around your boss or your husband, if you have one, or your significant other, especially if that significant other presents as the more masculine one in the relationship. This does suggest that men, masculine energy, all of those kinds of things are going to be a big part of your world, and or potentially some kind of legal matter is likely to be coming to the fore. To clarify on that, you have the Six of Pentacles. So this is financial stuff, right? Contracts around finances. For some of you, maybe you're asking for a raise at this time, very possible. For a lot of you, I kind of feel like this is you looking at the resources or the finances around not only the marriage or the home, but also the work life and or structure. For a select few of you, I wonder as well if this is a time where there is potentially a division of assets. So if you are in the process of a divorce or you're splitting up, this could be where you're getting that kind of advice to find out, okay, what is my half? What is their half? Maybe there's an inheritance that you're having to look at and say, okay, who gets what? What goes where? So it's a really interesting one for sure. As we come into April, we're going to have the first eclipse in the sign of Aries. This is a North Node new moon solar eclipse. It's the first one that's kicking off that cycle. So pay attention to what's happening in April, because it's going to give you a foreshadowing of what's happening over the course of like between now and 2024. All right. So April is a month to definitely pay attention to. For this, you have the Hierophant card. Again, you want to know how that's going to speak to your sign? Go and check it out. For this, you've got the Hierophant card. So for those of you that are married, partnered, or in long-term commitments, there's something going on with the marriage, March into April. There's something going on with your partner, with your significant other, maybe potentially around money, finances, and resources. If you're in a relationship that is rocky, this may be a time where you're rethinking, you know, who gets what, etc. If you're in a relationship that's already quite solid and everything's good, this could be where your significant other says to you, let's go into business together. Let's do this together. Let's start this together. And it may have something to do with property, real estate, potentially. If you're looking for banking and loans and all that kind of stuff. So you've got the Nine of Wands with the Hierophant card. And that does suggest to me that on the wider world stage, we might be seeing some kind of financial upheaval here in May, in April. Because you've got this with the Nine of Wands though, that is potentially a trip to a hospital, but it's not on your behalf, it's on somebody else's. It's kind of like why the reason that you're going to the hospital is because somebody else's health is not good. It's not a death. I don't see a death here, but I do definitely see an extended period in one. For those of you that are hoping to align your baby with a bigger or a larger institution in some regard, this may not be the time to do it, all right? So just be careful about what you're putting in. As we come into May, we've got a lot happening in May, which I've actually forgotten to put this here as well. Jupiter will come into the sign of Taurus, massive. On top of that, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio. As if that wasn't enough, we also have a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Taurus. There is a lot going on in May as well, right? So another packed month. In fact, the packed months for this year are going to be March, May, and October. There's a lot going on at those times. So if you want to find out what and how it's affecting you, again, you know where to go. For May, you have the Empress, right? So this is definitely around finances, resources, but also home and living situation. So this could be like the environment that you live in is starting to change. Maybe you're doing something with your personal image. Maybe you're getting your hair did. Maybe you're changing your clothes or your wardrobe. For some of you, this might literally be around a home. So what's interesting to me here is if you're applying for mortgages, you know, all kinds of stuff like that, there's probably an issue with this because that Nine of Wands suggests that maybe wherever it is that you're going for the resources, it's not them that you're getting it for, but you are getting it, and that's all that counts, right? So on top of that, you've got the Seven of Swords. Be really careful around May when it comes to money and finances and resources. Be really careful as well about gossiping, all right? Whether this is gossip about you, and especially, like, I will advise you, May is not a time to do that, all right? If you are out there gossiping about someone and, oh yeah, and you da-da-da-da-da, what you say will likely be taken out of context. What you say will likely be lied about, and it blows up out of proportion. The other thing is it's just a really interesting set of cards there as well, because I know that obviously in May of 2023, we've got our king's coronation. And if you've seen the chart for that, I was like, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. But hey, listen, you know. Anyway, on a more personal note, if you're getting quotes for stuff, be careful here, because someone will probably tell, yeah, you know, it's going to take this, it's going to take this. You could end up with like a 20, maybe let's say between 20 and 50k bill, and it's like 5 grand's worth of work and materials. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's something here that has the potential to really be almost like hidden from view. So just be mindful about that. For June, you have the Hermit card. So if you've been with me, if you've seen any of the year ahead stuff, I actually did say that this portion, May through August, this is going to be where the challenges show up in 2023. So for the Hermit, I mean for June, you've got the Hermit card. And what this really says to me is this is a month to take some time out for yourself. Now, I'm glad that the Hermit has shown up in a different space, because one thing that I've advised everyone for 2023, I don't care if you're married, I don't care if you've got 50 kids, whatever it is, even if you spend time on your own anyway, because it's a 7 year, having some time out, some time on your own where you're not partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, child, daughter, employee, like take some time out. If you can't do a solid week or 2 weeks, I would advise at least just a long weekend, Thursday through Monday, go away, switch your phone off, or, you know, somewhere that there isn't any Wi-Fi, or switch the Wi-Fi off. Just have some time where you rest, recoup and recharge. To clarify on this, you've got the Four of Wands. So it looks like you are taking a retreat of some kind. And for you guys, I actually feel like this may be an actual retreat. Like maybe you're, you know, like you go to those spiritual retreats and you have different, you know, food and massages and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It looks wonderful, because it's like whatever you're doing in June, you're attending an event that takes you out of what is familiar to you and you're going on your own. I'm here for it. I think this is a good thing. For July, you have the Wheel of Fortune. All right, so June and July, potentially you are on your travels. The Wheel of Fortune definitely suggests, and it's funny because this is like the midpoint of the year, right? So the first half of the year will be pretty decent, you know, even with the potential hiccups there around money, resources, or larger institutions. Here, the winds of change are blowing in your favor, and you've got this with the Ten of Swords, right? So what does this tell me? The Wheel of Fortune is the number 10. The Ten of Swords, obviously the number 10. 2 10s in the tarot literally represents change, and it's usually a big change at that. Because it's the Wheel of Fortune and because it's the Ten of Swords, something's coming to an end here in July, and this is likely to be, so one way that this could be, it could be an argument that forces the end of a friendship or a partnership or a collaboration. What I always say with this specific pairing as well, the Ten of Swords is a finite end. Whatever the Ten of Swords ends or removes from your life, it's not coming back, all right? So remember what I said to you, interesting as well, right? In the write-up, when I said to you, whatever goes this year, let it go. If you hang on to it, it's like, you know, that meme that they've got where it's like they say if you hang on to something, it'll end up breaking some part of you on its way out. This is one of those times. Because it comes up with the Wheel of Fortune, fate, God, the universe is removing something or someone from your life. At the time, it may be painful. It might not be something that you understand. You might think, you know, how is this good for me? You will come to see it in hindsight. Maybe not at the time. And even though it's not the Tower, that potential, because the Wheel of Fortune has an amplifying effect. With the Ten of Swords, there's some hard end here that you're not getting out of. All right, so whatever it is, let it go. For August, you have the World card. So for some of you, this could literally be that you're breaking ties with a place that you live in. That's very possible, because the World card here in August is communities, places and spaces. It's also you taking something to a new level, right? And in order to go to new levels, sometimes there are things that we have to release or to let go of. And you've got this here with the Three of Swords. So for a select few of you, not all of you, but I do have to talk about this because the cards are the cards. The World card can sometimes show up for the elderly, all right? And so you've got this with the Three of Swords. So this is potentially it's breaking away from a community. And you'll know because you'll feel the rumbles or the cracks here in July. The Ten of Swords can be a death card, and the Three of Swords can be a removal card. Because this falls on top of that World card, I do wonder if potentially we are saying goodbye to somebody of the older generation. It's just something that I want you to be aware of. It's not a guarantee, but if that is happening, it will be July into August. This is when you'll start to see, you know, that kind of energy show up. But for a lot of you, I feel like this is you breaking ties with a place, maybe somewhere that you've lived for a very long time, maybe somewhere that you even, what's the word that I'm looking for? Yeah, like it just, there's something coming to an end here, and I think when it does, you will be like, right, okay, I get it now. For September, Mercury goes retrograde in the sign of Virgo, so just be mindful of that. For September, you have the Moon card. All right, so this is not, September's going to be a bit of a weird month for you, if I'm completely honest with you. I kind of get that feeling. It may be a month where you yourself are hyper, super sensitive, and not in the good way, right? Usually you're hyper, super sensitive and you're very intuitive because of it. At this point, you might sort of be like, okay, what's real and what's fantasy? What's imagination and what's intuition? It might just all be blending into one at this point. And so you're going to look, right? The Moon card, double hit of the Moon card. I'm going to be really honest with you, right? Whatever is showing up for you in September, it's something that you've dealt with previously, but you haven't either finished, completed, or truly assimilated into who you are. And I've got to be really honest, because of the way that it falls, I feel like this is something that you've potentially tried to run away from. And September means kind of, because it's the Moon, right? The Moon card represents the past as well. And it's like, if you're weaving sort of imagination and intuition together, you're not seeing things clearly anyway. And so when this thing that comes up from your past is like there, one of the ways that this could show up is maybe you convince yourself that this is actually, you know, well, the reason this person has come back in my life is we're supposed to be together now. Right? Or, yeah, you know, that it's been too long. I don't need to deal with that now because that was like 10, 15 years ago. There's no getting around it, right? September is a month where you just have to face whatever is going on or coming up for you and just let it be, all right? Don't try to force it. Just let it come up. Feel it, experience it, do what you need to do. If it's got paperwork attached to it, whatever it is, cross your T's, dot your I's. Even if you're a bit kind of like, oh, you know, this is murky. I'm confused here. Whatever it is that you've tried to outrun, you're not going to be able to outrun it any longer. All right. So you're just going to have to face it. October, we have 2 eclipses, new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. On top of that, we have the, I think it's a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of, or it might be a Taurus new moon solar eclipse actually. At this point, I really can't remember. But yeah, that's going to be in Taurus. But, you know, October is a packed month. Remember what I said to you, March, May, and October. These months they're packed. You've got this with the High Priestess right next to the Moon card. September and October, all right? No big financial purchases, no big moves. Just observe what comes up. Who is in your life? What is going on at this moment in time? You have this with the Knight of Wands. If you're traveling in October, and it looks like some of you will be, you may think that you're going for pleasure, and what you get is a vastly different experience. It's not to say that it will be bad, but you might say like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to here, and it's, you know, it's going to be fun, it's going to be all of this, and you end up having like some really deep conversations or really powerful spiritual insights that kind of change everything, that leave you kind of ugh, you know, like that was intense, right? There's that aspect of it. I do also feel like October, you might try to force something. Whatever you're doing, you're trying to keep it under wraps. You're trying to keep it sort of low key, etc. With a double hit of the moon card right next to it, I'm not entirely sure it goes to plan. I hope it does. Just something to be aware of. For November, you've got the Tower card. Okay, so the Wheel of Fortune definitely brought that change point, right? Because the second half of the year for you guys looks to be a bit more challenging. Remember, you have the Sun card, all right? So whatever challenges come up, they are going to be beneficial for you eventually, maybe not just exactly at that moment in time. November is going to be some shit, all right? And it's the Tower after all. So what you need to know is, once the dust settles and the rubble clears, whatever or whoever is left after November, you can trust. And you have this with the Lovers card. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Not for all of you, all right? And it doesn't have to just be a romantic relationship. This could be a friendship. It could be a partnership. It could be a collaboration. There's something here that is coming to an end and it has an interpersonal message behind it. So whoever or whatever you thought was going to be around, for an extended period of time, this person is likely to be leaving your life. It could be a friendship. It could be a relationship. It could be a teacher even, it could be anything. I gotta be honest with you, the Tower and the Lovers fall right underneath the Ten of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune, which tells me one of two things. July is potentially a month where there's like a beginning of the end kind of energy, like you'll hear the rumbles and the cracks. November is when it really hits. Another way that this could show up is, it's like whatever connection is coming to an end in November, this could be a time where you're seeing that actually, and this it's not to scare you or to fearmonger, but this might be a time where you're looking at some of the choices that you've made and you're saying, actually, you know what? I know why this is happening now. It's because I made this decision at this moment in time. All right. And again, how many times did we fall over before we were learning to walk, right? Life is that. It's endless moments of falling over, getting up, and hey, look, I can walk after all, right? It's going to be that. And so unfortunately, November may be one of those times where you're looking at one of your previous decisions, potentially, whatever comes up in September as well, and you're kind of saying, could I handled that bit better? But we live, we learn. And then you've got the Devil card for December. So look, you're finishing the year with a lot on your mind. All right, there's a lot of thought here, and you've got this with the Justice card. One thing that I do want to say to you, and I'm pretty sure all of you will, so don't freak out. Throughout this whole year, whether it's spiritual, emotional, interpersonal, physical, or legal, play by the rules this year. If you do, December will be a month where it probably won't be as bad. It will just be intense and there'll probably be a lot on the mind. Also for December, whatever you are committing to, and there will be a commitment of sorts, you need to make sure it's the right one. Now, here's where this gets interesting to me, right? The Lovers card is number 6. The Devil card is number 15. 1 and 5 gives you 6. The Lovers is a choice. It's a decision that's made. Comes up with the Tower. The Devil is what we meet when we made the wrong choice in the Lovers, all right? You're not going to see this choice or this decision coming in November, but the consequences of it will show up here in December. And I use that word not lightly. If you've been with me long enough, I hate that word, because it's like when you say that, it just instantly gives you like the heaves, and it starts to freak you out, and it's really negative in its connotation. I'm using that word for a reason, all right? You've got a big choice to make here in November, and it's important that you choose right for yourself. It may be one of those times where it's like, you know what, the options that were available to me were bollocks and I had to choose one regardless. Your key to the year Oh, nice. Is the gate 46 and serendipity. There are likely to be so many moments of synchronicities and wonderful things that pop up for you this year. I am going to say it's a year where you're probably more grounded, like maybe you're not traveling as much, or maybe things aren't necessarily moving as you would have them, but you're along for the ride regardless. It's an interesting one, right? So for your challenge months that you need to be aware of, April and May are challenge months for sure. July, I think July it's not so much that it's a challenge month. I think it's just there's so much change here that it will feel like, okay, the ground is shifting underneath me. August could potentially be because you're feeling it here in the heart. September, challenge month. October, not so much. November and December, challenge months, right? So you're 50-50 at this point. Your power months, January, February, March, gorgeous, like really beautiful, strong start to the year. I actually really like June, to be honest with you. I'm kind of also here for July. Maybe not the heavier stuff of it, but the change, but then, I'm an Aquarius, so who knows? With that said, I think it could be a truly wonderful year for you, providing you make the right choices based on what you feel is right for yourself, and also to remember that the actions or the consequences of your actions will affect more people than just yourself. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic year. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.